Hey, good evening and welcome once again to Music with the Maestro. Right here, 7 p.m. on Lake 94.7. Glad to have you with us once more. In the background, you hear Papa John Grow playing a little piano as he did a few weeks back for us here in the studio when he came in for his interview. It's an exciting week at Center of Performing Arts. This Thursday night is the final Voice St. Tammany competition for this round, for this season. And so next we will go to the finals. We've already got two finalists, Kelsey Bordelon and Tiffany Noblette. And Thursday night we'll be picking the third finalist who'll be in competition with them. And soon you'll be voting right here on the radio. You'll be hearing their voices and voting for who you want to be. Voice St. Tammany, the very first. Very exciting. That's Thursday night. Doors open at 6:30. Singing begins at 7. $3 admission at the door. We hope you'll come take part and vote for who you want to go forward to the next round. Also, 2 weeks from now on a Thursday, that's May 10th, Tyler Kinchin and the Right Pieces will be performing here. You know, we've been talking about them for weeks. And Tyler did a show here, I guess about a month ago now. And we've been saying great things about them, and now it's your opportunity to hear Tyler Kinchin and the Right Pieces on May 10th, right here again, Center of Performing Arts. So we got a great show planned for you today. I have the pleasure of interviewing Miss Annie Clements, the touring bassist and backup vocalist for the group Sugarland. There's so much more to what she does, though, in music than that, and we're going to talk about her entire musical journey from the time she first began here in New Orleans to what got her touring on the road with Sugarland. Annie and I've had the pleasure of recording with her here at the studio on a number of occasions. She was one of the first people to come on board and start recording with me for Center of Performing Arts, and so we're very excited to have her here on the show. Back in week 11 of us doing the show here, that was January 25th, we had Cranston Clements, Annie's dad, on the show because he's a local musician and is presently playing around town, both on Bourbon Street as well as with a group called 90 West. So Cranston was on the show, and by the way, you can go back to centerofperformingarts.net and click for archived shows if you want to hear any of the previous shows. And of course, Cranston Clements would be week 11 from January 25th. When I asked Cranston about Annie, here's what he said. Since we made the segue, let's start at the top. Tell me about Annie.
Wow. I mean, what an honor and a privilege to be her dad, you know. The only thing I can say is I take a small amount of credit for suggesting that she give the bass a try.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on the phone right now with Annie Clements, who is the touring bassist and backup vocalist with Sugarland. So glad to have you, Annie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So let's just go through it real quickly. Your dad was on the show not too long ago. Cranston Clements, monster guitar player from New Orleans, and he had his own show here on the Nightlife and Music Show with the Maestro. He said some great things. We started off with a little comment from him, and your brothers Austin and Tyler are New Orleans like the it thing right now, right?
Oh, they're out of control. I mean, I can't even, I had the privilege this summer, or the past summer, of going back to the Berklee College of Music in Boston where I attended school, and the twins had both received full scholarships to attend the summer program. So I came up and gave a clinic, and I got the boys to play with me and my dad to play with me, and oh my gosh, I mean, the only word is just out of control. They're very monsters, cool. All three of them.
So, Annie, in the very beginning, how did it all begin? I mean, obviously you're from...
Well, I heard my dad's clip where he says he sort of politely suggested the bass, which I think is hilarious. I tell people that basically he needed a bass player, so he made one from scratch. That's my big line. But it was birthday, he took me down to International Vintage and bought me a little Gibson, and it just clicked. It just clicked, and all of a sudden we were playing together, and and it just took off from there.
Okay, so you cut out. What birthday was that? What age?
That was my 13th birthday.
Okay, gotcha. So,
yeah.
So he taught you a few things. You picked up a few things along the way, but you guys started gigging pretty early, didn't you?
Yes, my first gig, we did our debut. It was myself and my dad and Ray Franson of the Ray Franson's Drum Shop,
Sure.
big drum shop in town, and his son David, who was in my class, and we formed a band called D-Generation Gap, and we performed at our school, at our middle school, during in the chapel there, and it was pretty hilarious. We played some Green Day and some Stone Temple Pilots, and I think the teachers thought they were going to have a riot on their hands. But it was an auspicious debut.
Well, that's great. That's great chapel music. I mean, Stone Temple Pilots, you know.
Pretty hilarious.
So what's next along the line? First of all, where'd you go to school?
Well, I went to St. Martin's Episcopal. That was at that time. And then for high school, I went to Country Day, Metairie Park Country Day. And they had an excellent music program under Richard Harrison. And we got to go to Europe and play at Jazz Fest. And that was, I had been singing at Jazz Fest with my dad when he was playing with Little Queenie, Lee Harris. And I got to play bass for the first time with the Country Day Jazz Band. And that was when Quint Davis likes to say that he discovered me. He saw me playing with the jazz band and said, "Who is that?"
Yeah.
And so he always mentions that every time I see him, that there's his big discovery.
So at that point, you decided you wanted to go to Berkeley?
Yes, I had gone to the summer program, the one I mentioned before that my brothers went to, so I tried it out that summer before I decided to go there, and I just loved it, and I moved up to Boston, and I saw snow and all kinds of crazy things. But that was a very eye-opening experience, a very unique experience. I was one of, I think, 4 or 5 other girls in the program who were playing bass. So, which was nice on the one hand because you really stood out. But, on the other hand, some of my teachers would be confused, like, aren't you a vocal major? You're a girl.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? But it was great. I learned so much. And, of course, being able to say, I graduated from Berkeley, that people, being a woman, it definitely gives you an advantage. Well, she must be able to play something, I guess.
So next we asked Annie about coming home from Berkeley and starting to play with Teresa Anderson, and here's what she had to say.
Well, what happened was I had graduated. I was playing around town in Boston, and I got a call from Teresa Anderson. And she had, done her deal with Basin Street, and things were really starting to take off for her. And so she called me up because she knew me just from my dad and from playing around town before I went to school, and said, "Do you want to come down and sing on my record and just kind of check things out?" And so I did, and we really hit it off. And then she invited me to be in her band, and so I just said, "All right, well, I'll move back home and give it a shot."
Your dad was telling me about, I guess it was a festival performance you did with Teresa, and that the two of y'all were matching pitch so well that he thought your microphone was off. He saw you singing. He saw your mouth moving, but he couldn't hear you, and he was about to go take out the sound man. And then suddenly you two split into harmony, and he realized, oh, her mic's been on the whole time.
Oh, Dad is notorious for doing that, but that's the best.
That's a great.
It's good to have a dad like that looking out for you.
But you know what? That's a great compliment, because unisons are the toughest thing in the world to sing flawlessly. And so if you and she had that kind of mesh, that's really cool, Well,
I appreciate that. Any compliment from my dad, in my opinion, is of the highest order.
Yep, sure thing. So what happened after Teresa? First of all, how long were you with Teresa?
I guess that was about a year and a half, and we got to do some really incredible things. First of all, I think one of the first things we did, I'm trying to remember the order of events, but we went down to South by Southwest, and we were playing at one of these outdoor patio shows, and a booking agent walked by and heard us and stopped and, came down and was just like, all right, I'm signing that up. And so after that, it was kind of off to the races. We did a lot of outdoor fairs and festivals, tons of club dates. And then we got invited to be a part of Fender's 50th anniversary of the Stratocaster. Because Teresa was playing a Strat on some songs. And so we got thrown into this bill with, Brian May and Ron Wood and Joe Walsh and, Dave Gilmore. It was totally nuts. Flew to London. We're rehearsing with these guys for a week on a sound stage, and they were so nice. Everybody was so great. Brian got me and Teresa tickets to the Queen musical that was in London at the time. I mean, it was just like, it was stupid. It was crazy. So that was, that will remain one of the great, musical accomplishments and joys of my life. And so she and I got to do that together, and something I'll always treasure. I'll never forget.
Here's I'm on my way.